Hey, welcome. Today, we're jumping into a question that, let's be honest, people have been wrestling with forever. How can you really tell if God is with someone? It's a huge question, right? Well, we're going to break down what the Bible has to say about it. Let's get into it.
So, what's the secret formula here? How do you know if it's a genuine connection or just, talk? It's fascinating because the source material points out that even Jesus had to deal with this. People were constantly watching him, trying to figure out, is this guy for real? It's a puzzle for the ages.
So, to really get to the bottom of this, our source lays out 7 pretty clear signs. You can think of this as a kind of guide, pulling the evidence for divine presence straight from the scriptures.
Okay, so first up, let's talk about the signs you can actually see. These are the external proofs, the things that happen on the outside that make you go, there's something more than just human effort going on here. Specifically, we're going to dig into 3 big ones: performing works that are just not ordinary, living a life that's all about goodness, and seeing someone's circumstances completely turn around for the better. Let's start with that first one.
The first sign is all about doing things that seem, impossible. When a person is accomplishing things that just defy what a normal person can do, that's seen as a major sign of divine help. The classic example the source gives is Moses standing up to Pharaoh.
Now, what's so powerful about this quote is who said it. This wasn't one of Moses' followers. According to Exodus, this came from Pharaoh's own magicians. After they completely failed to copy one of Moses' miracles, even these skeptics had to throw up their hands and admit it. They knew they were seeing a power way beyond their own smoke and mirrors.
Sign number 2 is a lot simpler, but it's just as powerful: a life that is fundamentally defined by goodness. The source really paints this as a black and white issue. A life dedicated to doing good, that's evidence of God's presence. A life of evil? Well, that suggests he's not there. It's all about the consistent pattern of your actions. And this just nails the point perfectly. This quote from the book of Acts is talking about Jesus' ministry. All the amazing things he did, healing people, standing up for the oppressed, they weren't just random acts of kindness. They were the direct result, the overflow of God being with him. The goodness of his work was the proof of God's presence. All right, the third sign is about a total radical transformation. We're talking about when God is with someone, their entire life situation can do a complete 180, often going from a place of absolute despair to a position of influence and success. It's a massive reversal of fortune.
And the story of Joseph is the ultimate poster child for this. The guy starts at rock bottom, sold into slavery by his own brothers, then thrown in prison for something he didn't do. But the text keeps repeating this one phrase: the Lord was with him. And what's the result? He goes from prisoner to basically the prime minister of Egypt. That journey is shown as undeniable proof of God's hand on his life.
And hey, it's not a one-time thing. The source also points us to Job. After losing literally everything, his health, his family, his wealth, his story doesn't end in tragedy. It ends in total restoration. In fact, his fortune gets doubled. It shows that even after the most intense suffering, God's presence can bring about an incredible comeback.
So we've looked at the external stuff, right? The things you can see with your own eyes. Now, let's shift gears and look inward, at the signs that are all about faith, promises, and spiritual discipline.
In this section, we're going to break down what it means to follow the Word, the sheer power of receiving a spiritual promise or a blessing, and the impact of modeling your life after leaders who have already walked the walk.
Okay, so sign number 4 is about having a life that's built around the Word, which means the Bible. The source makes this really cool comparison to the ancient Israelites carrying the Ark of the Covenant. You see, wherever the Ark went, God's presence and victory were right there with it. It's the same idea here. A person who really lives by the scriptures is seen as carrying God's presence with them.
The 5th sign is fascinating. It's about the power of spoken words. The idea is that when a spiritual authority, maybe a parent or a mentor, speaks a blessing or a promise over someone's life, that act actually invites God's presence to come and make that word a reality.
King David and his son Solomon are the perfect example. David prayed that God would be with Solomon and help him achieve this massive goal of building the temple. Solomon received that blessing, and sure enough, the Bible says the Lord his God was with him. The father's prayer literally became the son's reality.
Sign number 6 is all about following a good example. Look at what the Apostle Paul says here. It's basically a roadmap. He says, if you want the God of peace to be with you, then do the things you've seen me do. It presents this idea that following the example of a godly leader is a direct path to experiencing God's presence for yourself.
So, we've covered 6 signs, everything from miracles and character to faith and discipline. But the source saves the most powerful, the most compelling proof for last. And this one, it isn't about what you do or even what you believe. It's about the effect you have on everyone around you. Just think about it for a second. Anybody can say, oh yeah, God's with me. But that's just talk, right? The real proof, the final, undeniable evidence is when other people, your friends, strangers, maybe even your critics, look at your life and they come to that conclusion all on their own. And this is it. This is the 7th and ultimate sign. According to a prophecy in Zechariah, one day people are going to come from all over, seeking out the people of God, and they'll say this exact phrase. They won't need an argument or a sales pitch. The evidence of God's presence in their lives will just be so obvious that other people can't help but be drawn to it. That's the highest validation there is.
Okay, so we've walked through all 7 signs, but now we get to what is maybe the most important part of this whole explainer, the real takeaway. What are you supposed to do with all this information?
The source is crystal clear on this. The point of these 7 signs is not to give you a checklist so you can go around sizing people up. It's not about pointing fingers and deciding who's in and who's out. If you do that, you've missed the entire point.
And that brings us right to the end, to the final challenging thought. The real reason to understand these signs is for some honest self-reflection. So instead of asking if God is with that person over there, the source flips it around and asks us to look in the mirror. Is my life producing extraordinary fruit? Am I committed to goodness? Do others see God's presence in me? And that's the question we want to leave you with today. Thanks for joining us.